I'm Sadie Creese, a Professor of Cybersecurity here at the University of Oxford and Founding Director of the Global Cybersecurity Capacity Centre. We're here today at the Oxford Martin School, which is where the Capacity Centre is based, to hear from a range of experts in cybersecurity capacity building from all around the world. Here at the Capacity Centre we study what it really means for a nation to have good cybersecurity and what it means to effect better cybersecurity. And so it's incredibly important that we bring people from around the world, from all of the regions, to share their experiences and the programs they've been engaged in and the kinds of threats they're concerned with, whether that might be hacking, whether that's cybercrime, whether that's cyber aggression online, and all of the mechanisms that they're engaged with to deal with and mitigate the harms that emerge from those threats, whilst at the same time protecting freedom of expression online, our privacy and our basic human rights.
One of the great strengths, I think, of the maturity model has been to address the needs of all those stakeholders, and I hope in the future that we'll see more evidence-based work around fighting cybersecurity.
We're very excited to be a part of the conference and a part of the deployment of the CMM model, which we think is a very good model for the countries to assess their cybersecurity capacity. We think that the CMM model is the most comprehensive and most useful one because it obtains data from different actors, gets their opinions, which later can be researched, and it's very much value added.
I think the CMM's had a really good impact in building the evidence base that we can use for our programming and policy thinking. And I think it's really been good at connecting people from around the world, those from Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, academia, companies and governments. A better sense of collaboration around the world, which is what capacity building and cybersecurity needs.
I see an increasing participation of developing countries or countries that in the past have been mostly recipients of multilateral and international development interventions, to let these countries conduct their own cyber maturity assessments and cyber capacity building activities.
The past 5 years we've been doing this work with the University of Oxford. One of the things we've realized is that the technological implementations need to sit within a perfect ecosystem. If you put the technology alone without building the right cyber culture, without building the educational skills, without having the right policies in place, then everything is going to fall through.
In Latin American region, during these 5 years, we can have the opportunity to observe that 7 more countries have implemented its national strategies in cybersecurity. And this is very important because it gives the cyberspace some kind of framework to work on, and also the countries have established their computer security incident response team.
In measuring the overall state of cybersecurity readiness of a country, you need to take different factors into consideration. You can't just look at one side. Different dimensions ought to come into play to give a national view or a 360-degree view of the state of play. Policy strategy, the culture awareness, protection of critical information infrastructure systems, legal, the criminal justice sector. These are all important areas that goes into making a determination as to the state of a country's cybersecurity readiness.
If you ask somebody for a definition of cybersecurity, the chances are that it will be different from every person. And one of the things the CMM approach and also the Capacity Centre approach is to get that lingua franca out there. So when we are talking about cybersecurity, then we all have a joint and shared understanding, a joint platform, if you will, from which we can then develop further and build capacity further beyond that.
In the last 5 years, I would say that cybersecurity capacity building has come on leaps and bounds, and I think that's partly been in response to some large and very highly publicised cyber attacks that have affected not just national security, businesses, small to medium-sized enterprises, and also individual citizens. And I think we've had a real wake-up call. We've seen a lot more media coverage.
Nowadays, when we're talking about cybersecurity, it's not only cyber threats. Everywhere we are facing hybrid attacks, and the cyber threats are transferring more and more into the physical space.
Cybersecurity capacity building focused a lot on building national level resilience, focusing at governments developing strategies, incident response capacities. But I think that now we're kind of looking at the future where everyone identifies the need for international collaboration and cooperation.
We in ITU are very proud on our cooperation and collaboration with the Oxford Cybersecurity Capacity Center, especially regarding the CMM, its capacity maturity model.
We've seen in the last decade that we cannot actually have the benefits of the fourth industrial revolution without acknowledging the security vulnerabilities and that angle to all the digital transformation that we are seeing. And that is very much linked with the multidimensional and multifaceted aspects of cyber, being from a societal perspective, a technological, policy, legal, and so on.
Understanding that we need to collaborate closer across sectors, across institutions, and us finding those venues and agreeing to do more with what we have jointly. That's definitely something that's on everyone's mind. I was glad to see that it resonates with the audience.
I felt there were some dominant themes in the conference. It's been an incredible day. One was the dynamic nature of the technology and the threats that they pose. Another theme that came out was this ecology of actors that are involved in cybersecurity capacity building, and the differences cross-nationally in the composition of these individuals and their collaborations.